For public comments, those of you that wish to make them, we are limited altogether to 30 minutes. The individuals that wish to speak, we're going to limit you all to 5 minutes because time is precious. Now we need to recognize everyone who is here today and call roll, or I'm sorry, recognize our guests that are here, Robin Kenny, as well as Greta Helton, our Associate Commissioner. Our Assistant Director of State Schools, Emma Riley. At the same time, I'm asking the Secretary to take a roll call.
Haley Brock.
Present.
Robin Bush. Anita Rowanwalt. Scott Holland.
Present.
Jeff Fixinger.
Present.
Sheila Parton.
Present.
Aaron Roden.
Present.
Kathy White. Bethany Yes.
Present. Seems as we have satisfied.
Wonderful. Moving on to the agenda. We're looking to approve the minutes from November 16th, excuse me. Do I hear any corrections that need to be made? Before we proceed with our board members, it is important to note that before you speak, please state your name, because we have a couple of interpreters here tonight. One of those is interpreting directly for Emma Riley. We want to make sure that access is given and we know who is speaking. Scott Hahn says that I do have a correction that needs to be made. Thank you all, Haley says. As well as Scott Hahn, a professional in deaf education, as well as our former chair. Scott said, I'm happy to be here to support you all. Jeff says, Kathy White, parent of a deaf child. Thank you, Kathy. The agenda meeting now says that we're moving into to have Robin Hart, our interim commissioner. However, we're going to scratch that and move it to later on, but we're going to start now with KSD's interim principal, Dr. Lynn Petrie.
I want to make one tiny change, and I'm going to let Mr. T. Hewlett address the crowd on the buildings and grounds, give us a little bit of an update. He's got a very important date with his granddaughter. It's a special presentation, so I want to make sure that we get him there safe and on time and a little bit early. So I'm gonna go ahead and let him start, and then we'll go back to Commissioner Kenny.
So good evening. It's always a privilege to be a part of the advisory meeting and to update you on all that's going on campus. And there is quite a bit. Will this work better at all? But help you. Okay. Okay. So is it working better now? Okay. So again, thank you for the opportunity to be here today. There's a lot of projects that are moving on campus that I hope that you are seeing some of the work happen, and there's some in the offering that are coming up. And so let me update you on those. We have just completed the Brady Hall dorm renovation project. We have completed the punch list, and that has been turned over to the school so that staff under Dr. Petrie's leadership can use that as they see fit now. We're out of the way. We're really excited about what that looks like and the opportunity for our students to use that facility. With that in mind, in this week or next, I should get the first cost opinion, what we call phase A, on the renovation of Middleton Hall. And again, that's going to be a great project. We've put it together in 3 pieces to make our dollars go further. I used some roof pool money to do the new roof. We have HVAC money to do a new air conditioning and heating system in there so that the money that was allocated for an upgrade and remodel of that building will be able to touch that, as much of that building as possible. We're really excited. We had good input from staff, students on that design. And so we look forward to kicking that off very soon. And so that's also one of the reasons we wanted Brady Hall to be complete, is it gives us a place to house our students so we can have total access to that building to do that project. We're moving forward on our Argo McClure update, getting some concrete in the greenhouse, which is much needed for that surface in there so our students can safely work in there. We're doing quite a bit of work in the industrial arts classroom. We're adding new outlets. We're going to do a new dust collection system. And so, several things that'll happen in there. Then in the old art room, I think the school is using that space a little differently. And so as we do a new air conditioning HVAC upgrade, we're taking all that into consideration. And so we're making all those changes. And those have been at the recommendation of staff. So we appreciate their input and their diligence to help us know what they need and how we can best serve them with the projects that we're going to be doing. And so we're really excited about those as well. We also are going to be moving into Grow Hall, and there's going to be a new window shade project. Some of the shades will be automated or electric so they can go up and down, especially around the front of the room where we do a lot of presentations. And so that should help with the signage and our interpreters. And then the rest of the building will be done with manual shades that can be lowered up and down. So again, we think that's a really good addition to that building to make it very functional, because as we all know, we use that facility quite often for a lot of things besides just our service department. Also, we have the fencing project around campus, and that was using some special money that expired or ran out. And so on my end, on the capital end, with the department's permission, we're going to finish that out. There's some additional gating and some electric motors and things that make that safer and finish out the fence. So we picked that up on our side. So you'll see that happen pretty soon, and we'll get that done as well to make sure our campus is as secure as possible for our staff and students 24/7. Let you update you on Jacobs Hall. We have had our on-site meeting with potential contractors, And so that project is now out to bid. For those of you that aren't familiar, we had an incident a few years back where there was an accident. One of our former teachers fell. And so we're doing a new railing system inside that building. And that project is set to open the bid on February 27th. And so once we get that, get our bid, a successful bid, then we'll begin that project so that we can make sure that we can use Jacobs Hall for our tours and all the different activities that you had in a safe manner for everyone who would be going up to the second floor, third floor, or whatever that may be. And then I guess the biggest project that we're doing here again is Thomas Gym and the air conditioning of the entire, well, everything but the pool area. The pool area gets a different unit that will move air, but it won't be air conditioned. But we are well into that project. I met last week with Commissioner Kenny, and she's very supportive and pushing me to make sure that we can have graduation here this year. And so we're trying to really push that project to be done. We're working with the building inspector, housing authority, who has to give us approval at the end if we're not completely finished. And so we've already begun that process so that if we have to block off at least part of the building down to the locker room side and to the pool, so we can have our graduation there, then we're very optimistic that that's going to happen. We're really trying to push our contractors to help us meet that date. I know the school has a backup plan to use Danville Auditorium, and that's great. We appreciate our partners at Danville Independent, but we want to host our graduation on our facility. And so I assure you that I am pressing as much as I can to keep us on track, on time, no delays, and get us into that building. The challenge has been is we're putting air conditioning where air conditioning was not. And so the duct work, we had a lot of barriers that made this process a little slower because that building wasn't designed for air conditioning. And so we've had to work through that. But we are making progress, and we're really excited about where we're getting there, so that we can have our graduation there for our students. We'll update you just a little bit. As some of you have been a part of our 6-year plan on our request of the legislature. Right now, and this process with the legislature is in the very early stages. But as of right now, what's in the House bill budget for us is our maintenance budget, which is being maintained at the current levels, which is a big support to the school. There's still money for school safety. So those projects are still out there that we would be able to fund. And then there is a new one. It's exterior building budget. So I'm not exactly sure how that plays out or how we would use it, but we'll get clarity later on. And so that's what's in the budget right now. I just would want to caution you, at least at this point, we don't have any additional funding for Lee Hall. We have the design. And so whenever we get money, as I've reported in the past, we will be able to start the project, but we have to wait until the legislature actually gives us the funding so that we can move that forward. So that's the broad overview. I know that Mr. Westerfield has some other projects that he has on campus, but those are the ones that I have active right now. And then again, once we do have this pool of HVAC money, $33 million from the federal government, that there will be some additional projects that will happen. And we've got a new design team that's working with us on that. So we'll be pushing those forward as well. So we have some capital dollars that we're going to be used to continue to upgrade the facilities on the campus so that our students and our staff have a great place to come, learn, and be a part of our community. So I'll stop there. If there are additional questions or comments that I can answer for you, certainly I would be glad to do that.
Scott Hunt raises his hand and asks a question. So in talking about the
Government giving 33 million. Wow. Okay.
It's only for HVAC projects, which we are working though through federal programs to understand how far of a reach does that let us do? How far into a building we can go other than just putting an HVAC system? So we're working through that with the Office of the State Budget Director. So it may be a little bit more than what I'm actually describing, but at least the initial use of the money is for the HVAC, and it is a pool of 33 million.
Han has a follow-up.
Hall Museum, would that be included?
That's part of that grant. We're trying, yes. That's a unique building. And so again, we're asking for clarity on how can we get into that building. It's on our radar to want to do, but this money is real specific because it's federal money. It's not state government bonded money. And so we're having to work through some logistics. And the federal government doesn't always understand our needs as well as we do.
The chair's asking if anyone else has a question.
Seeing none, thank you.
Moving on, next, Robin. Oh, I'm sorry. Robin, yeah, we have a spot for you to stand right over there. And Barbie Harris has a question. It was directed for Mr. Hewlett, but it was a question about Grow Hall.
Barbie's asking, is that all right? Okay.
All right, thank you, board members. This question is mainly directed for Mr. Hewlett. Up on the stand, she don't want to fall. Can everybody see me? She asks. Okay. So with Grow Hall, our cafeteria, I understand about the blinds, shades. That's wonderful. My question was going to be the glass that's there, the two big stained glass pieces. Will those, the blinds block what's there? Are the blinds going to be inside of the window casing? Will they be outside of the window casing? That stained glass work that's there is very precious to the school. It was crafted by Betty Taylor many years ago, who was a student who made that with her class. The students made it, rather they designed it, and it was a very special project. It is very valuable to the school, those stained glass windows. I just wanted to make sure that they weren't going to be hindered in any way. And then had another question, but it seems to have slipped. Anyway, I'll save it for later. And I'll ask Mr. Hewlett when he returns, probably through email. Thank you all.
Jeff Kessinger speaking. I'm Jeff Kessinger. I do apologize, Barbie, that I didn't catch your hand raised before Mr. T left. My apologies. So I'll plan better. All right. Thank you. If we can move ahead with Robin Kinney.
I believe that Rick Westerfield. Barbie. I can't speak for Mr. Hewlett, but Mr. Hewlett and I are working hand in hand on this project. And Barbie, I can answer a couple of those questions for you. In no way will the blinds that we're going to be putting in have any effect on any of the windows that's already there. Everything will be put on the inside casings to where we won't affect any of the glass. Okay. Now, as far as the north end, I'm going to call it, where we generally have our interpreters standing, where we have all of our meetings, That end right there, the windows across the back and the front two coming up, will have the motorized blinds. So we will be able to, at any point in time, raise those, lower those, open them, close them, make it how we need to make it for our interpreters to be visible. Okay, and to help with the lighting and so forth. So, the manual blinds that will go around the rest of the room, we'll be able to leave those completely up to where they won't be visible at all, or they can put them down as I guess Laura or whomever, whatever function we're having, they'll be able to have it the way they want. Now, we're also, but to answer the other part about windows, we are looking into doing kind of like what Boyle County and Danville has already done. They're putting a window film on their windows for safety that has their, like Danville has admirals, their logos on them. We're actually looking in with the company here in Danville to hopefully do the same thing here with a lot of our buildings to do the same thing. So in no way are we going to cover over anything that is very special to KSD. Okay, does that help a little bit? Okay.
Barbie says good. Joe Kessinger said, thank you for your comments. So again, Robin, I apologize. The stage is yours.
It's fine. Thank you so much for allowing me to return and share with you a little bit about the principal search. Thank you to the chair and the board members, and to Dr. Petrie. He was over there, but he's not there anymore. So, but it is a pleasure to be back with you. I hope that some of you were here last fall when we talked about the principal search for KSD. And at that time, I really want to thank each of you that were here for your input. Very valuable input for the Department of Education, which allowed us to then adjust our principal posting for the Kentucky School for the Deaf. So we're really happy that we heard from you and we've now placed that in the posting. Our posting actually was posted on January 16th. And I just want to share with you some of the people that have been working so hard on this posting. Of course, Associate Commissioner Greta Hilton has been helping with it. Emma Riley, who's here with us tonight as well. Shannon Sparkman. These are all people from the department that have really been working to get this posted and get the word out about the vacancy. When I was here in the fall, we talked about all the places that we could post for the position of principal. And so we reached out to 111 various entities that we knew had some type of relationship with deaf education. And we asked them to post this for us and also to spread the word. In addition to that, I know Ms. Riley also followed up with emails to all those 111 entities to make sure they received that information. And so we make sure that we have cast the net as broadly as we can for the next great candidate. The posting was up for 25 days, 25 business days, and that seems really fast. But let me explain to you sort of our thought process in having that window for applications. And the reason is that right now, at this time frame, this is the prime time to be attracting candidates for new opportunities to come as we start the next school year in August. So we really wanted to be aggressive in our posting, see who we could find, and so that trying very hard to have a principal in place by the summer so that we can have that principal really comfortable so that when school starts in August. So that was sort of the rationale behind the 25 working days. You know, some people could say that's not long enough. And so we'll have an opportunity to kind of explore that together, whether that's long enough. I can report to you that the posting has closed and we received 7 applications for the position of principal. And once we received those applications, we then had a independent group of people, 5 people from KDE, that reviewed the applications with the names redacted. So they couldn't tell who the applicants were, but what we asked them to do was to thoroughly review each application to see if they met the minimum requirements. And we talked about minimum requirements the last time I was here. The 2 important things that were requested to be added, which were added, we wanted to look for candidates that had a STEP education background. And we also wanted to look for candidates that had an ASL rating of advanced. So those were the 2 things that we understood very clearly from the fall meeting that the community, our students, and our faculty here were really interested in. So the committee of 5 reviewed for those minimum requirements. And of course, in addition, our minimum requirements also include, we want a strong instructional leader here at the Kentucky School for the Deaf. We want a person that can lead our students and our faculty. So they went through all the minimum requirements in addition to the 2 that we added that were so important to your community. So I'm here to share with you tonight that none of our candidates met all the minimum requirements. We have one candidate that might meet the minimum requirements. And so we just closed last Friday. And so we are trying to find out if that one candidate met all the minimum requirements. I can share with you that out of the applicants 1 through 4 had principal certification, but no certification relating to exceptional learners. So they have no experience in deaf education. Applicant 5 is the one that we are still trying to explore further the minimum requirements to see if he or she meets all the minimum requirements. Applicant 6 lacked ASL requirements, so did not meet that. And applicant 7 does not have any certification credentials in the Kentucky Educational Professional Standards Board. So that's where we are today. And as I provide this update to you, I think we have some choices to make at this point in time. And knowing that I was going to be able to come and give you an update, I would like to hear from you sort of the options that we have to explore so that we can together move forward. So we can try to find out if the one candidate meets all the requirements and move forward and interview that candidate. That's one option that we could pursue. We could extend the time period and not interview anyone yet. Extend that time period for another length of time, hoping that we will get more interested candidates. I will say, and the Department of Education is open to any of these options. I wouldn't share these with you and then say, well, we don't want to do one of these options. So these are all available as options to us. If we do extend that time, we will definitely need help, your help, in locating more candidates. Because having sent out to 111 entities, and we have 7 candidates at this point, we will have to do something different to generate more candidates. So that's a possibility. We could go back and look at our minimum requirements and say, do we want to change our minimum requirements? That is another option. And again, extend the time and see if that yields more candidates. From where I sit and what I think is very important is we are working and moving forward to find that principal to start the new school year. So of course, if we extend the time frame, that causes us to have to really expedite our pace in order to be able to bring someone to the school so they can start by August. So just trying to be really transparent and open with each of you of where we are in the search process. And again, appreciate the input that you provided at the fall meeting, and am open with the chair's indulgence that if anyone has any comments or questions they'd like to make, I'm happy to entertain those and answer those to the best of my ability.
Yes, Jason Smith has a question. Jason, if you'll come up to the podium. I'm sure I'll get up on the platform. Could you explain to me, or at least expand, when you said expedite or ESB, what is that? I'm not quite sure when you mentioned ESB something, whatever that was.
Of course. So the shorter of the window that we have time to find a principal before school starts, that's the expedite. We would really have to hurry, speed things up, make sure we find that candidate, make sure that we go through the interview process with all the candidates, make sure that we vet them, check their backgrounds, make sure that they're telling us exactly what is on paper, making sure that that is all conducted, and then get them on campus. So
In addition, it was the ESB that we were unclear on.
I'm sorry. The other thing is EPSB and Education Professional Standards Board. And that is the governing board in Kentucky that certifies and licenses teachers or principals.
Were there additional questions Jeff asked? Any questions from the audience? It appears we have one in the back. Mike? Jans, do you have a question? If you'll come forward. Good evening. Hello, everyone. Need to get you up on the podium. Good evening, everyone. Just one simple question. Sweet and short. I'm not sure who I direct that to. If you said you may have one individual that, can we hire from outside of Kentucky, or do they have to meet the KDE standards? What can you, is that one individual, or are they from within KDE, from within Kentucky, or are they from out of state? Can you share that? Thank you.
I have not seen the individual applications, but for any applicant that comes to us, they can be from outside of the state of Kentucky, but they do need to be certified in Kentucky. So Kentucky has certain standards for our administrators and our teachers, and so they have to go through that certification process. So when we talked in the fall, we talked about making sure that we would have someone with a Kentucky certification. But they can be from outside of Kentucky.
And Kathy White's recognized.
So we know that with teachers, we have alternative pathways of certification. We even have an emergency certification. Do we have anything that would be available to KSD along those paths for a candidate who would meet the other qualifications? Would be part one of that. Part two would be, do we have anything in the budget that would say, if the person meets these qualifications, they could do this part of the job, and if they meet the DEF-Ed part and the ASL part, they could do this part of the job? Is there a possibility of having a I don't necessarily want to say principal and assistant principal. I don't want to play semantics with job titles, but we know the role, like you said, instructional leadership. That requires deaf education background. That requires communication. So whatever we want to do with certification, that's an EPSB issue. What leeway, what flexibility do we have with that?
So the principal position for the Kentucky School for the Deaf is like any other position, principal position in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. So if they meet the requirements of the Education Professional Standards Board in whatever option or whatever path, then we would be able to extend that to the principal here. The second part of your question about could we split that position somehow? We have a principal position and we have an assistant principal position currently vacant. So we want to fill both of those positions. When we set the minimum requirements, again, based upon the input of the students and the staff and all the people that are here that are so interested, rightfully so, in knowing what their next principal is going to be, I heard very clearly the last time that we want someone that has a deaf education background, and very clearly that they wanted someone that can sign at that advanced level. So that is what the position was posted upon, and that's what we're trying to fill. We do need to have a Kentucky certified administrator in order for them to practice in the Commonwealth. So any of those options that EPSB would afford, we would absolutely be willing to have a principal in any of those options. Does that answer your question?
Yes and no. I feel like because you heard loud and clear that in order to run a deaf school, you have to have a background in deaf education. You have to be able to communicate with the deaf staff and the deaf students.
Right.
So then my question to the Kentucky Department of Education is, and the Education Professional Standards Board, that division, is what leeway, what support, what accommodations can you provide in order to work with positions to be able to put in there? And I understand what is currently required. So my question is then, we know what we've done for the last we are. What can the department do differently to change course within the opportunities that you have?
So I hope I'm understanding your question, first of all. I think your question to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, is there something, let's not go with the minimum requirements completely as they were written?
No, let's stay with the minimum requirements and change the job titles. Because other parts of Kentucky School for the Deaf are not run just like every other school district in the state.
Right.
So then how do you change job titles in order to meet your minimum requirements?
So I would think we would always want a principal. I would think, but I'm open to hearing something different than that. But we are the Kentucky School for the Deaf. So I would think we would want a principal. As far as an assistant principal, maybe there's something different. We don't have to have an assistant principal. So changing the titles, we could have some flexibility in that regard. I would think we would want a principal.
I defer to the board and the audience.
Another question about Nancy Perry, if you'll come forward. We're used to you. I understand that those outside individuals have to be Kentucky certified for this position. So if an individual does not have Kentucky certification, how long do they have to take a test, if there's a test, to become Kentucky certified? What does that process entail? Do they have a certain amount of time that they can complete before they apply for the position? Can you give us those details?
So thank you. That's a good question. Again, when we met in the fall, it was our understanding that we wanted a Kentucky certified principal. Again, I think what we're talking about now is making some modifications or some adjustments to the minimum requirements. We can do that. We can do that collectively. We can say within so much time, if you don't already have it, you have to have, the minimum to be able to sit in the chair, but there are ways that you can sit in the chair while you're continuing to work on that, toward that certification. So there might be an opportunity for that. Again, we would be then talking about adjusting the minimum requirements. I will say, and this is, you never know because it's so individually based, right? Individually based. And I know, I'm sorry, the question was, how long do you have to do that? And I would have to ask, for them to get their certification. And I don't know the answer to that question. So I can get you the answer to that question. How long can it be? But again, we would be adjusting those minimum requirements and saying within whatever the permissible time frame for someone to get that certification, we could accept that. I will say that's always a risk, based upon the individual, because what if they don't attain that certification? What if they don't? And then we're right back to where we started from. So again, not saying that it's not possible, but it's sort of, you have to weigh that against, will that person actually be successful in that? And what does that mean for your school in the meantime?
Any other questions, Chair's asking?
Cassie Ratliff, high school science teacher. So Cassie Ratliff, high school science teacher. So you stated that we could consider changing some of the minimum requirements. Have we considered or could we consider starting a ground program? So I work with deaf individuals that have advanced science skills, that show instructional leadership skills, that have a deaf ed background, that maybe don't have a principal certificate. Could we create a program where that individual continues to get that principal certificate, sort of like an emergency certification? They accept the job and then continue to work to get that certificate while they already obtain the job. Is that a possibility?
That is an EPSB question, and I am not the expert in certification, but I can certainly take that back and ask that question. I'm happy to do that. Happy to do that.
Chair's calling on Aaron Roden. So I've noticed that with many of us here tonight, we have all agreed and we're willing to be we're not willing to bend on the deaf ed certification or the science skills. But with the principal certification, I think we can try and be a little bit more flexible with that today. I think that's the point that we really wanted to drive home, was the deaf ed background as well as the signing proficiency.
Thank you. Of course, it is very important. It's very important when we're talking about an instructional leader and the principal of this school. We need to hold that person to the same standards as we would have for any principal in any other school. We want additionally on top of that, the education, the deaf education background, and additionally the sign language. but it's really important that we hold to the standard as we would for any other principal in the Commonwealth of Kentucky to meet certain standards and expectations. So I'm happy to go back to the Educational Professional Standards Board and explore any opportunity on what that looks like based upon the questions that I've heard tonight. But we want to hold the instructional side to a very high standard for our students and for our faculty here.
The chair recognizes Captain White.
I don't want to muddy the waters. So I'm going to say this and then I may take it back. Because I'm not sure that I like this idea, because I agree 150% with what you just said about holding the position to a high standard of instructional leadership. So I don't know if, so the title principal, whether it's the title principal, whether it's the title of academic dean, or whether there's another title, whether we work with, or I definitely agree that going back, working with the office of, or the division of, the office of EPSB, the division of EPSB, because we have done so much work in that area. And we know that one of the areas that they worked different from this, but because praxis scores were causing a challenge for so many, that they've worked with that to say, while a number doesn't necessarily indicate a person's competency, they've done other things. So if in this situation, we're looking for a high standard of instructional leadership, we have to have certification. I am not backing off of that, but I'm looking at how we get there. So if we see somebody highly qualified in another area and we require what we just talked about, either a grow your own or work through 2 years to get to out of emergency certification to full certification, they have to display a portfolio. I think that what I'm asking is, are there other ways to get to this high standard of instructional leadership that we must have? So that, because we know that certification or passing a certain bar has been a challenge in relations. And that's something in the equity and inclusion and diversity work that the department has done for the last several years with other populations. We need to apply to this population as well and find where the sticking points, and we need to remove those barriers, frankly. And I think this helps us head down the right path.
Like I said, I'm happy to go back to EPSB, and Kathy, maybe you can brainstorm with me a little bit about what that looks like. But I do appreciate that you said we cannot deviate from requiring a high quality instructional leader here. That is first and foremost what we're doing. Children are here to learn. And so we have to have that high quality, very accomplished educator in order to give the best service to the children and to the faculty here.
The chair recognizes Mr. Archie Harris. I'm not old at all. So, thank you, Juan. We're very appreciative of all the work that has been going into it. The signing requirement, the knowledge of deaf education, all those we are thrilled about. And thank you for adding those in there. But I do want to make sure that everyone, or some of these adaptations for the principal position, we don't need to omit any of those minimum requirements. The background of deaf ed is a must. The signing proficiency is a must. I would love to entertain the idea of opening the position again. I know 25 days is short, but you did do your best. I think that hopefully, when schools are reaching for a graduation year or there's something in our program currently, maybe in March will be a good time to post those positions as well. I did like what Kathy had mentioned, that we don't need to lower our standards for Kentucky School for the Deaf. It's something that the minimum requirements need to stay as a minimum. And the sign language proficiency at that advanced level is good, and having a deaf ed background is something that we need in the individual that will be here. So that's my recommendations for you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for hearing us. And everyone has had very good questions this evening. One thing I do want to ask for clarification on, KSD has a legal gray area when it comes to teachers and their positions. And so I wanted to put out that the KRS, hey Bentley, KRS 163.032, specifically, that says that all teachers who are hired or who are selected for hiring at KSD or KSB, legally, they're obligated to go through the hiring process, and through the end of that hiring process must be completed within 2 weeks through KDE and the Kentucky Personnel Cabinet. And it says that teachers are in there, not only them, but the top of that bill, that law clarifies that both teachers and administrators. That legally applies to our new principal role here at KSD as well. And so how can KDE better that pathway to making sure that they're following through on that legal requirement?
Thank you, Bentley. It's nice to see you. And that requirement was put in place several years ago, really looking for expediency in the hiring process. And so we work with the personnel cabinet. This is actually considered, our positions are actually considered permanently out there for fill, because the General Assembly, as well as the Personnel Cabinet and the Kentucky Department of Education, understand the urgency that if we have a teaching position so quickly as possible. The problem we run into, just like in this case, is candidates, qualified, quality candidates that we want to have working at our school. And so the postings are happening within 2 weeks. The postings. But if we can't fill those, it doesn't do much good, does it? You know, the end goal is a person, qualified, accomplished teacher or statute is more toward making sure that we are quick in our postings, that we're not back and not posting it quickly, reaching out and to try to find those candidates. So you are right. It's very difficult when we are trying, especially when we, anytime, and this is not just applicable for that, but anytime we put requirements on any posting, it narrows our field of candidates, which makes it so much important for interested parties like yourselves to help us seek out candidates that have these minimum requirements. So if you know of some place, and I have the list of 111 with me, the 111 places that we posted and tried, if you have other places that we need to be seeking out, we are more than willing to make those connections and to try to get it out as far and wide as we can to get those quality candidates. But thank you, Bentley, for the question.
The last one is Madison Atkins. I would like to express that we principal is Dr. Petrie. We would really like to keep him here. He does value the students, he values the school, he values the staff, the process, the order that he's brought here. We would like to keep him here. Thanks.
Thank you very much for your comment. We appreciate so much the services of Dr. Petrie. Been serving in this capacity as the principal here at the school. And I will say personally, I have heard lots of very complimentary remarks, like we just heard from our student here at KSD. So thank you very much. I will say also, just another piece of information for you. Dr. Petrie has graciously agreed to act as the acting principal for this year. And as we make the search go out a little bit further, of course, it will be up to Dr. Petrie and the department whether he will start in the next school year. So that's just another thing for us to keep in mind as we're looking for the next principal for KSD. And I think we can all appreciate that, anytime that you're in a place of employment, it is sort of an agreement between the employer and the employee about whether that continues. I want to say to the students, we think Dr. Petrie has done a wonderful job and we appreciate his services. And as we set these minimum requirements, he could be a candidate. But of course, we are setting minimum requirements. So we'll have to see if Dr. Petrie or any of our other candidates meet those minimum requirements going forward. But thank you for your comments.
Our chair, Jeff Kasinger, has recognized one more question from Haley Brock. So how long does it take for an out-of-state certification to transfer to Kentucky? Haley's asking, because is it something longer than the posting, which was 25 days?
So it depends because it has requirements on the candidate to produce certain documents for us, and then it goes to EPSB. So a lot of it is on the candidate to give us the requirements. So if they're they have received their education at an out-of-state school, then we have to receive evidence of that at the Department of Education in order to make sure that we can have that candidate qualified to be certified in Kentucky. So I can't give you the number of days. I can't say it takes 5 days or 10 days but because this is a position for the Department of Education, once all that information is in to us from that candidate, I can assure you we will be working with EPSB to get that certification moved forward. And we have done that in the past.
If you don't mind a follow-up to that, thank you. So all the candidates, then they've been vetted and everything. And how long does it take for you all to respond to those? How long do they know?
So
How long does it take before they know they've been approved or accepted with that reciprocity system?
how long did they, can you restate the question again, please?
Okay, yes. So we have a candidate, has gathered all their evidence and documents and like certifications, licensure, whatever they have from the out-of-state candidate, and they submit them to you all. How long before they hear back that that's been accepted or approved? Is there a time deadline?
I don't think there's a statutory or regulatory requirement on that timeline. Looking at others at KDE that can help me with that. But there's not a mandate on that. You must reply within 20 days, for example. But once we get candidates in, especially for the Kentucky School for the Deaf and Kentucky School for the Blind, once they have all their information into us, we are calling EPSB, and let me say this, the Educational Professional Standards Board is a standalone entity, but they are part of the Kentucky Department of Education. So literally, they are one floor down from where I sit in the Sauer building. So I can guarantee that I am knocking on the door saying, hey, we need a certification for someone at KSB or KSD. So I can't give you a number of days, but I can assure you if someone is trying to get that certification for a position here, we work very hard to get that done. Amy Hislop is kind of sort of your personnel person here at at the Kentucky School for the Deaf. And Amy contacts the HR people in Frankfurt and EPSB regularly. She's part of the HR team at KDE. So we get that candidate to us that meets all the other requirements. We'll push that to get them certified. Thank you so much.
Thank you as well.
If I can just one more minute, and I appreciate so much your indulgence for us taking a little bit of time with this topic. I know you have other things on your agenda, but I really appreciate the opportunity to be here and to talk with each of you. It sounds like from what I'm hearing, I'm going to try to quickly sum up because again, we're trying to do this together. What I heard was it might be a good idea for us to repost, leave those minimum requirements in, and explore other opportunities with EPSB on how we get that principal in the door as quickly as possible. But I think I hear we want to try again. Leave it out there a little while, try again. So I would be happy to come back. Okay, I would be happy to come back at your next meeting. Where we are. And of course, if you'll continue to watch the communication that comes from the commissioner's office, I will share with you when we get to a point that we're getting ready to repost again. And so you can see what that posting looks like and you'll see the timeline again. I want to keep you all very informed, all the interested parties, parents, families, and most importantly, students. So we want to make sure that you're informed as well. So thank you very much for your time tonight. Chair, I appreciate you allowing us this time on the agenda.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Dr. Petrie?
Right there?
Yep, you're up.
Okay. My speech.
Just speak up.
I can use the mic. I'll be center stage. I'll go over there. Now it's getting important. All right, closer to Barbie Harris. That's always good. That's a good sign. As I head into my 10th second week, I've enjoyed my math, but I've enjoyed growing and just becoming the leader that I wanted to be and to be able to lead this school. I'm going to show you several things that I'm proud of tonight. Number one, the programs and the students. Number two is the full board that is now sitting and representing KSD. So I really do appreciate that. I'm excited about that. And so thank you all for volunteering. I've also had somebody ask me about my philosophy. My philosophy is similar to the 3 R's in education. You got reading, writing, and arithmetic. No joke, but you know, several of them don't start with R, but that's okay. My 3 R's are just to create programs that are relevant. Relevant for the students today, what they're going to become for tomorrow. So I want to give them opportunities to go out, get experiences, and to be able to carry on after they leave KSD. My other R is rigor. Challenge the students, challenge the teachers to really put those opportunities out there so the students can be successful. I want to challenge them at every stage, elementary, middle, high school, and even challenge the community to step up and offer opportunities to get these students to gain experiences. My last one is going to be readiness. Having these ready to meet a career, having these students ready to go on to higher education. That could be CTE, that could be college. But I want to create those opportunities, and you're going to see several of the programs that we were able to like reintroduce, reinvigorate, and the teachers have really stepped up, the students have really stepped up, and I can't wait to brag on them. So I'm going to make my part very short. I want to introduce some of the new staff that we've brought on. We have Andrew Floyd. He is part of our house parent. Justin's very excited to have him on staff. Tammy McCauley, you saw her in the front, instructional assistant. Oh, there she is. Wave at everybody. She has been an awesome addition. Christy Johnson, instructional assistant. She will be starting March 1st. And then we have Wendell Jones in the over there in the cafeteria, Row Hall. Laura McKinney, she is here. She's very excited to have him. So now, without further ado, I want to kind of showcase a few of the programs that I'm wanting to introduce to the students. My first one is going to be discussing trying to get the students involved in meetings, especially this one, just involved in those leadership opportunities. I'm going to be discussing with the board about creating a non-voting member of our student body to be added to the board panel. So that is going to be something I'm going to talk to them about adding. And I also have a presentation. I got Eddie, woodshop teacher. He's going to be standing up and waving at everybody. He has worked with our students to create a very special project. I have Madison. She is going to be presenting tonight. Where's the Mekas family? Paula Mekas, get up here. Just, Eddie, will you help whenever Madison?
So this is Madison. Hello, everyone. My name is Madison. And today we wanted to
Show this picnic table that our class has constructed, a new picnic table, because out back here at the middle school, the one that was there was old, it was worn out, it became not viable. And Paula Mekas is a former KSD teacher. And so this table was remade in honor of Paula's father. Are the other students here Paula's asking that help construct the table?
I think a couple of them are A students, and then we had, where's Sean Brown? There he is, right over there.
Paula is extending a very heartfelt thank you to everyone. Thank you all.
But wait, there's. Yeah, yeah. You didn't prepare a 10-minute speech? Are you okay? No. I was able to, like, I saw the need to create a cooking class, so I've kind of restarted that class for our elementary and middle school this year. They are going to set up refreshments, cookies, and punch. That's drink. They're going to set up cookies and refreshments for everybody after the meeting. So I'll try to make it as short as possible so we can all enjoy the cookies and drinks. So yes, you're going to get to enjoy that from our students for the last couple of minutes. Maybe it's okay with that. All right. Appreciate it. You did great. Thank you, Sean Brown. All right, moving on. That's very exciting. Raquel Eaton, I forgot to mention, she's the one that is going to be leading the cooking class. She's new. Next, we're going to have Dr. Rohr. And is Swanchin here? There you go. You all can come up and introduce what you all have been working on. Some exciting trips. Her first. Okay.
So, hello everyone. I am Swanton Warren, and this is my sign name. And I'm the coach for the math team. So, they did a great job, an absolutely great job in their competitions this year.
And we can't wait to have more competitions. I'm excited.
So, hello everyone. I am Lee Allen Rohr, and this is my sign name. I teach math here at KSD for the high school department and middle school and high school robotics. So this year, we went to 2 different competitions. The first one was the middle school competition, and their challenge was focused more on alliances, working together with other teams. So for each game, they had 2 teams, and they were from 2 different schools. So it's interesting to see the students because they didn't know each other. So they had to address and discuss challenges and weaknesses and strengths related to the robots and had to plan strategies. So those teams did work together to earn points. And then the last challenge, it depended on both teams to earn those points. And then when all of the points were totaled, there was a champion. Also, that alliance, they had 2 teams that were actually the winners. So that was middle school robotics. And they were pretty flexible. It was pretty simple. But they had 3 competitions each. They had alliances, skills, a skills test. That was when the students themselves were the drivers. And then also the programming, the automation programming. So that you just flicked a switch and the robot did all of the movements on its own. For the high school tournament, it was very similar to that. It had the 3 components as well, but the robots were more complicated. And the challenge there was that they had 4 teams. They had 2 teams, 2 alliances, 2 teams. They had the red, for example, and the blue. So the goal for that was not only to earn points, but to block points from the other alliance, or possibly to steal points. So it was a great experience for all of the students involved. I think they learned a lot. They met a lot of other students, a lot of other people interested in robotics. So they met a lot of new people and learned to work with them, to work together with other people. So we had a couple of students that will be coming back and doing that again with us. Allison Tucker is one, and Bentley White. So they will continue to be involved in this competition. And they're going to speak for us now and share some of their experiences. Okay, so who wants to go first? Billy says, all right, Allison. I am Allison Tucker. This is my sign name. The 2 of us worked with the high school robotics. We got to fly to Kansas and be involved in that competition. It was a regional competition, and in general, the experience overall was great. The challenge was so much fun, and it was something new for us. It's my 2nd year being involved in high school robotics, but still, the challenge, the experience was amazing for me. And being involved with that type of robot and making it, putting all the components together and the pieces, and I really enjoyed that. And then, too, meeting some new deaf friends and people from different schools. Sometimes it's a little bit frustrating, of course, but in general, I really enjoyed that experience, getting to fly and visit those places and meet those people. Hello, everyone. I am Bentley. This is my sign name. The 2 of us were alliances with a team. I'm trying to think of the name of our team. Maybe it was the Green Spirit. So really, the competition itself was amazing. But we had a good time. We enjoyed working together, meeting new people, and going those new places. And it was interesting because when we would show up, we were forced to work with people that we had never met before. So, it was like, hi. We'd say hi to each other and just meeting. It might have been just a bit awkward in the beginning, but, then we had to work together to earn those points. And so really, it's just a great experience. And then flying to Kansas, that was great. And then flying back, well, on the trip back, we had a couple of challenges there, but the competition itself was fun. We didn't really win anything, but I feel like the experience itself, and working with all the robots and the people, We didn't start out perfectly. It was a process, but we learned a lot. And sometimes, the robot itself fell apart. So we had to look at it again and think, we just had like 2 or 3 minutes or something to figure out how to fix that, how to work that all out. So it's a little bit stressful for us. Oh my goodness, but overall, it was the top best experience. Sorry that I went on a little bit, but we enjoyed it. So thank you all for your attention.
We'll have the students come forward. We have additional students. Hey, I was in the mathematics competition and we flew to Florida. So when we got to the hotel, we had a meal and then we had to go to the competition. And it was a very good experience. We gave it our best. I tried my very best. The competition was rigorous, but we gave it our best. I liked the math competition because it was so enjoyable to be competing in mathematics, but also because we got to go we got to go to a bounce house, and that was enjoyable.
I really felt that robot part when everything was falling apart. That's me on the daily. Seems like, but I try to hold it together. So I appreciate the teachers, the students sharing. So it's very exciting what the students are doing. So I am, without further ado, I'm going to bring up our IT director. He's going to talk a little bit about some of the media and technology, some of the programs that we're starting for some students. Jared Mills, everybody.
You got this.
Hello, everyone. If you all don't know who I am, my name is Jared Mills, sign name. And we've been working to bring of a lot of variety with technology this year. Trying to make more of an emphasis on tech across our campus. Give me a second, I got my notes. All right. Maybe a couple of months ago, Dr. Petrie approached me and he wanted to change our PBIS, our kernel store, and make it more modern. To modernize it, we put it online. We made it have the same type of interface as Amazon, and I'll show you an example now. This wasn't just from my department. There was a lot of collaboration from a lot of different staff members that have all gotten together to work on this. I want to go through it just a little bit. Sorry. We good? Okay, had to make sure that I'm in the screen for the live stream. All right. So when our students have earned their kernel cache for, it could be anything, they've met their expectations for the day. The kernel cache they're able to use that here in our kernel store. It has the same type of feel as Amazon. They're able to peruse their website. They're able to pick their items that they wish, to select their order. Now, on the back end, we have is it a class? An agribusiness class, and their focus is the managing of the back end of this web store. So they'll receive the order. They have all the options in front of them. They'll have to receive the options off the shelf, package the order, as well as deliver the order to the student who purchased it. So we're teaching our students that responsibility, the online shopping experience for the younger students, and then with the older students, they are learning how to fulfill an order, how to package it, as well as to deliver it, and make sure that the order is complete, which is a real-world job skill. Working through this process, I've gained some more experience. And so I decided to add a bank. So here we have our kernel cash bank. So as the students earn that kernel cash, it's not in a tangible dollar or something that they deposit into a vessel in a classroom. They'll have a slip that they can fill out, like a deposit slip, and we'll have a virtual bank as well as a bank card. They're able to, a bank teller. And so, when they make that deposit with their teller, they can, each student will have their own link. They're able to view their link with their account information. Let me show you my sons. So, Toby's class hasn't started this program yet. Right now, we're starting with one class because it is in its infancy, and as we move along, we'll spread it to other classes. As these students earn money, the money will show up here. Each deposit and each purchase is going to interact and work the same as your online bank account does. So that's to give them the experience of using an online banking system. Through this feature, I'm unable to show you this part of it, but we're also going to be able that anyone who is on campus and they see a student that is doing a really good job or they've met some expectations that they might have had, they had the ability to go back to their office and then deposit or send them the kernel cash virtually. And I'm thinking in the past it was always a teacher-driven thing that dispensed the kernel cash, but now any staff member rather, that has a KSD email account is able to send and issue kernel cash. So the last thing that I wanted to to mention is, again, for a while now, we've been wanting to rebuild a film studio. In years past, we had one here, and that class filmed commercials. They did maybe, 15-ish years ago? So it's something that,
More like 25. Scott says more like 25 years ago we had that film production.
well, so now what we're looking at doing is having that studio again. That studio is built. It is functioning. It's been used. They've been using it for weekly announcements, programs that have been going on. And so it's the students they're leading it. They're the ones that's doing the work. We have 2 students in our audience right now, you see in the back of the room, operating the camera equipment right now. Yeah, I've done a little bit of help with them, but they have been the ones that have been doing the majority of the work. They're the ones with the ones that want to start filming through this process and gain these skills. Also to mention, we've already had staff use this studio as well. If they're signing an ASL book or coming up with an ASL story that they want to. The Starry Way community, Rocky Mountain School for the Deaf, they have a multitude of uploads to their YouTube account. So many books that they've put into sign language, and it's something that we're wanting to do as well here. One has been completed. It looks fantastic, and hopefully we can work through that process and we can add more to our library. And so we're trying to have more content that's online that we make ourselves, that we can post via Facebook, as well as just getting the word out there to everyone, who we are and what we're doing to show us, because we're doing awesome things here at KSD. Thank you.
All right. Next time, I'm going to share, have Sandy Smock up here with several students, not this time, in May, because we don't have another 3 hours. We're going to talk about the Amazon store and, that really working into our transition program from elementary, middle, and high school. Talk about some transition trips we're going to be taking with our 8th grade through high school. It's going to be exciting stuff. Right now, I'm going to let my dorm director come up, share a little bit of the updates with our dorm life. Dude, just a pageant, everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Petrie. My name is Justin Paget. I am Director of Student Life here at KSD, in charge of the dorm. We've had a great year up at this point. It was relatively new. I started in July. And we started right off the ground running with our staff doing some training with Texas School for the Deaf and their Student Life program, which was a great way for me to enter. We grabbed a lot of momentum. My staff participated in a conference in June of this past year. And they were able to get a lot of ideas, program implementation, that kind of thing, with student life leaders from across the country. So that was our momentum starting. I've got an awesome staff in the dorm, 2nd and 3rd shift. We're in charge of the kids outside the school day. Judy Wilson is my 2nd shift supervisor, and Kevin Hamilton is my 3rd shift supervisor. And I have an awesome team around me.
Slow down.
Yes, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Can you repeat your 2nd shift person?
Yes.
Yeah, Judy Wilson. 3rd shift supervisor is Kevin Hamilton. And we have an awesome staff in the dorm that are just phenomenal. They are working hard every day, taking care of our students outside the school. That is their role and job once the kids are out of school. We do bed checks every single night with kids, making sure they're safe, breathing, healthy. alive. And so our staff are doing those around the clock. We have a new bed check system that will be forthcoming soon, where staff are actually logged when they go into those bedrooms to make sure the kids are safe. That's a log system. That's something that started ahead of my reign in the dorm, but we're excited about that. It's just another level of accountability, making sure our students are safe all through the night. We also have lots of systems and processes in place for behavior tracking and accident reporting, making sure that we're communicating with our families about any of those incidents that may happen in our dorms. It's something that we're constantly revising and looking at to make sure that we're communicating with all of our stakeholders. We mentioned a little bit, Mr. Hewlett talked about our renovations that are ongoing. Brady dorms look phenomenal. We're super excited to get back there very, very soon. Staff will start working this week. In fact, on making sure those dorms are ready for kids. And once we get new beds are on their way, I don't want to steal Mr. Rick's thunder, but we're looking forward to those as well. Good. All right. Activities that are going on in student life. That is one thing that my goal when I started is that we keep these kiddos very busy and active in the dorm. We don't want them to have a lot of downtime. We have a good partnership with the Boyle County Public Library. We have groups of students that are traveling to the public library each and every week and participating in their programs that are already designed and developed. So we love that our kids can go over there and participate in those literacy activities to help build what they're doing here in school every day. Our dorm is also participating in a rec league basketball program here in Danville with our local Parks and Rec. We have Coach Chelsea Mills, who's done a phenomenal job with our 3rd through 6th grade rec athletes. We also have one individual that is on the cheer team here at the Parks and Rec. They're having a great time participating in those extracurricular activities. Our students have also prided themselves getting connected with Jacobs Hall and our group that works tirelessly over there, keeping things active and moving. We try to help them and support them anytime we have the opportunity. If there's things that need to be shifted, they did an awesome Christmas program for us. And our students went over, helped decorate, move some supplies around for them, and just making sure that they have help. And we hope to maintain that tradition and just that respect for what all Jacobs Hall represents. So we want our students involved as much as possible. We're able to do that in our own way. Some of our future plans in the dorm, we are on the front burner right now is student government, getting that up and running so that we have stakeholder input from our students, working with them to develop that leadership skill and helping them to make decisions about what we do in our dorm and hopefully spill over into the school life as well. We have a garden project that we where we'll have a dorm garden. We can grow fresh fruits and vegetables and then use those products inside our dorm to create meals, cooking class, share with our cafeteria program to see if we can utilize those as well as we move into the spring and summer. So we're excited about that. As warmer weather hits us, we hope it's on the horizon. We have been active in our local parks, getting the Millennium Park, Money Davis. There's a lot of resources right around town in Danville. And we hope to get our kiddos in those programs and off campus as much as possible. We also work with Ms. Emma Riley and a lot of our state leaders developing projects using some funding that we had available. And we are wanting to really enhance student life in the dorms. We're looking at some technological advances, televisions, programs, activities, games, lots and lots of different things surrounding student life and just increasing and enhancing that inside our dorms. Also, there's a component of that for independent living, teaching our kiddos how to be sufficient inside the kitchen, at home, those kinds of things. So we're looking to expand that program inside our dorm as well and teach kids the basic life skills, taxes, all those kinds of things that they may be facing once they're outside of the walls of KSD. So those are just a few things that I wanted to touch on in our student life program.
That wraps up my exciting portion, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peltry. I want to thank you. It's phenomenal. I appreciate all your hard work with the students and the student experiences that they're gaining with technology and life experiences, independent living. It's inspiring us, and I want to give you a hands up, round of applause. Keep it up.
To all the teachers and the students.
And applause to all the students out there, too, that were involved. Moving on with our agenda. Shannon is not here this evening. They're the director of the
State schools. State schools.
The state schools, and Emma Riley, I think she wasn't feeling well and she has stepped out. All right. So do you have something for Emma? Yes. Could you share what Emma was going to share? Thank you.
Greta Helton.
This is Greta Helton.
Thank you. My name's Greta Hilton, and before I get started, I do just want to say, can't hear me? Better? Not better? Maybe some help. Better? Better? What about that? All right, is this any better? Yes, no. Any better? Holding it closer? No. All right. Yes. Okay, all right, I will try to talk a little louder. There's only been a few times in life where I've been told that I've been too quiet. So I'll try to do better. So I just want to say thank you for just the opportunity to be here. Miss Riley had to step away because she wasn't feeling well, and Shannon Sparkman had some family matters that she needed to attend to. So I'm thankful to be with you here tonight, and I also want to say thank you to Interim Commissioner Kinney for sharing with you probably the most important update that we have from the Department of Education. And just really, really appreciate the time and energy that you have put into helping us find the next principal. In my office, the Office of Special Education and Early Learning, we are we're really working hard to try to get that information out, and I appreciate all the support that you can provide. So a couple of quick updates that I want to share with you. We have new staff, and Dr. Petrie, I don't know if you shared or not that Amanda Gillen is our new transition specialist.
Last time.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, so you have been able to meet her. We're also currently in the process of working with the Office of Continuous Improvement and Support to get a comprehensive school improvement plan moving forward. So hopefully we'll be able to get that rolling in the next few weeks and get that moving for the upcoming school year. What's important for families and parents to know is that every year, as part of our state improvement plan, annual performance report to the United States Department of Education, we do a parent engagement survey. We send that out to ask parents basically how engaged we've been with parents and families and how engaged can we be to improve in the future. So that's currently open and will be until June 30th. And you've heard a lot. I won't talk a lot about the American Rescue Plan projects. You've heard a lot about that tonight. Emma Riley is working collaboratively with people at the school and the folks at the department to ensure we continue moving that forward. And then finally, February is Gifted Education Month, and the State Gifted Coordinator, Kathy Anderson, is working very closely with Renee Combs to support our gifted students here on campus. So those are just some of the happenings between the Office of Special Education and Early Learning, and the school itself here in Danville. Any questions for me? All right, thank you.
Scott Collins. Oh, wonderful comments about the transition program. It's about time.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Any additional questions? Thank you so much for the comments. Next on our agenda is Tony Peebler, who's the Director of Outreach.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to share tonight about KSD Outreach and our program services. My name is Tony Peebler. I'm Director of Outreach. This is my 10th year with KSD. So KSD, the Community School for the Deaf is designated to serve as a statewide educational resource center for deafness and for hearing loss. In the Kentucky and the outreach program itself was developed in 1983, so that's 20 years now of our 200-year celebration. To think that we've only had outreach for 40 seems kind of interesting. And the primary objective of outreach was to support the educational needs of deaf, hard of hearing students across the state, wherever they are being educated. The mission statement of our department is to provide the highest quality services, resources, and support to children who are deaf and hard of hearing. And we do this by collaborating with their families, their communities, and the professionals that serve them. The vision statement for our department is that we use a whole child approach to promote students who are confident, competently skilled, and emotionally healthy. We have three primary objectives within the outreach program. The first one is educational planning guidance. We primarily do that through assisting districts with assessments and gathering data to identify the abilities and the needs of their students. We also provide guidance on developing and implementing the individual education plan for those students after that data has been collected. Our second key objective is providing educational support, and that takes on a variety of different hats. We conduct classroom observations and provide recommendations. We participate in admission and release committee meetings where decisions about eligibility, placement, IEP development, and IEP review, annual review takes place. We participate and attend meetings across the state with the directors of special education. And we support the development and pedagogical skills, I want to make sure I was on the right slide, of teachers of the deaf and hard of hearing across the state. Additional areas of educational support include teacher mentorships, sign classes where we prioritize parents first and then district staff, student and family events, family education and guidance. And we also maintain a lending library of resources that are circulated across the state. And lastly, of those objectives, professional training and development. We are going regional opportunities for deaf and hard of hearing cadres to support those teachers. And throughout the year, special trainings on key topics and curriculum implementation. The team is currently made up of 11 positions. Those are 7 regional consultants, myself as director, and we have 3 temporary consultant positions that have been really kind of provided through the CARES Act funding that will end at the year, unfortunately. So that gives us a total of 11 temporarily, typically 8. And I want to share with you a little bit about those special projects that we've been able to create with those fundings. The first one is a language deprivation intervention project. We have 2 consultants that specifically go out and work monthly with districts to support students from the ages of 3 through the end of their kindergarten year, so that they are specifically targeting language deprivation skills within these students that was even impacted greater by the pandemic shutdowns and even less opportunity and exposure for those students. And that particular program has been really successful. We've gotten just very high praise from the participating teachers and staff that have been a part of that and seen a lot of growth in language development of those students that have been involved. We've had a total over this year and a half, slightly over a year and a half, of right at 40 students, and we have about 8 have made the program. The deafblind outreach has been really a joint project. This was an idea of Riley's, and so it's been a very nice project to be able to work together hand in hand with Kentucky School for the Blind. We have a consultant, they have a consultant that has targeted deafblind skills specifically. And they have, over each of the 2 years, they have supported approximately 40 students. Again, has received very high feedback and praise from the participants. You don't see as much growth and development in those students because many of them are much older, as we do with the language deprivation project. But it's been a very interesting and exciting opportunity to have those special programs to be able to be offered. And we are working right now on how we maintain as much of the quality of that when we lose these 3 people within the team, the remaining team that we have, on top of the skills and objectives that they already have in front of them. So I've put together a slide just talking about our annual impact. And I'm going to give you a minute to just look at that before I talk about it. I'm going to say it's almost 8 o'clock. So yes, Scott.
So a question as far as, yeah, this is Scott Hahn speaking. As you work with First Steps, is that part of what you do?
So unfortunately, really, First Steps is a very minimal part of what we do. Our funding through the outreach department is not the same stream of funding that First Step services are provided through. And so while we do collaborate some with those agencies and provide supports to them kind of on the side, it's not as frequent as what we would hope to see, but it's just due to the structure of how we're set up.
I see. Thank you.
Sure. So just to kind of talk about these numbers a little bit, I've captured the last 4 years of data. Total support events on that top line is just the number of records that we have logged in our data system of support events. Maybe the same student many times throughout the year, the same parents many times throughout the year. But just looking at last year, we ended with over 3,000 support events for the year. Part of the reason I think, we're only gonna see some change in that from the first year I have here was our first COVID year. The next year was also a COVID year. And then as we moved into 21, 22, we started to add, and those 3 new consultants that came in, it was not, unfortunately, at the very beginning of the year. One started in November, one started February. It's very sporadic throughout that first year, but I'm sure that that has some of the impact for the increased number of records that we're seeing there. The next line is talking about the number of districts that we supported throughout the year. And given that currently Kentucky has 173 school districts, and throughout the year, we were able to support in some fashion 152 of them. We have a very good percentage rate of support across the state. The number of individual students that we supported last year was 634 students. And even, a large part of the number of students that we support happens through student events, because a lot of students across the state may have the supports they need in the academic setting or with the support of our consultants to their staff that meet them. And so we don't necessarily, the work that we do with students is really indirect support. But we have a couple of student events a year. That is where we really have our numbers kind of skyrocket, especially March. It's more of a transition focused event, and the numbers are usually really high. And just due to some kind of just complications of the processing of paperwork last year, we ended up having to not be able to finish the last 4 of those events. And our numbers were still 634. So I was really pleased to see that because I kind of thought they might go down in light of that, but they didn't. Total family supports was 485 last year. The average number of staff supported per month was 345 staff members. And the number of community members supported was 260 for the year. And supporting the community is probably one of the most minor of the things that we do, just in the nature, because we're designed to be the support for the students and the benefit of the students. But we do have community members who will sign up to be part of our sign language classes and stuff like that. So through the course of our work across the state, we have many opportunities to highlight the benefits of a KSD placement. Continually have the opportunity to provide guidance about what placement looks like within the spectrum of least restrictive environment. But particularly, we host the opportunity for students to communicate in American Sign Language, to have access to instruction in American Sign Language, for social and cultural development opportunities that they have, and the extracurricular opportunities, particularly for campus-based students, residential students. Outreach has always been a strong advocate for opportunities for dual placement, and since coming back from the pandemic, we've had many opportunities to see students that would be dually placed, particularly the younger students You know, as wide as our state is, it's a very difficult decision on families to think about sending a kindergarten or first grader 3-4 hours away for a week for their education. And so we, remember where I was going with that, but so one of the things that we were able to do was really take a look at some opportunities for a dual placement. And so we have some of those, particularly some of those early kids, where their families are kind of like they're unsure about whether KSD is the best place for them or the benefits that it might provide. And so that dual placement tends to look like a variation of so many days here on campus and so many days in their home district. And for many of those opportunities, they have led to full-time placements after that experience for several weeks or months. Parents see the value of KSD placement and request an ARC to discuss that further. We have a lot of collaboration across the state with state level stakeholders. And I'm not going to read this to you, but I'll pause a moment just to let you kind of reflect over those, review those. And in addition to state level stakeholders, we have a smaller pool, but large considering of national level stakeholders that we collaborate with throughout the year. And with that, I'll ask, do you have some additional questions?
Nancy Perry. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Tony, for your involvement in the outreach program and
Word out there. I see a lot of activities going and expanding. So my question to you is, throughout the state, as far as involvement with deaf and hard of hearing individuals from K to K-12, I guess you could say, in total, how many students are out there?
Good question, Nancy. That number can vary from year to year, and it's collected through the December 1 child count. Typically, and I'll be honest with you, just due to some family issues with my own family, I missed a large chunk of the spring last year. And so that is typically when I request that, and I didn't request last year's December 1 child count. But typically that number is hovering around 700 to 800 across the state. Mr. Hahn?
Yes, thank you for the report. Do you mind sharing a copy of that report
With the board so we can ponder some of that information as far as what you shared? That's a learning experience for us and we can see what's going on throughout the state. So if we could have a copy of your report.
Certainly, yeah. I also brought with me, I'll leave with you just a copy of our current regional map and where consultants are assigned, as well as just a list of the 23-24 master list of events that outreach has had planned and been conducted throughout the year. I don't have enough of those for the entire audience, but I'll leave them with the board and I'll set the remainder over in a chair right behind Dr. Petrie. And if you'd like a copy, pick it up on your way out. If you don't, leave it for the next person.
And we have another question. Yes. Kathy?
Tony, you said 8 out of the 40 were able to make enough progress that they were able to move kind of on the program. I think that's phenomenal. And I wonder if there's any type of documentation that you've been able to do or just saving the strategies that were used, because I think those could be a great benefit and could be perhaps replicated in other places with younger children. So just curious as to how those strategies are being documented and then perhaps shared.
Well, the strategies are being, we do keep a record of those through our data collection. Part of our process in this program is with each visit that the consultants make, they do a language sample so that they are actually measuring the language growth of those students. And so we have that data to reflect back on. One of the things when we take a look at this program, we've seen the benefit of it, and we take a step back and think, how could we make this even better? We realize that getting into the classroom and giving those teacher supports is really only half of the need. We could also provide those same supports to those parents where those same strategies could be carried over. And so that is something that we don't have the manpower to make that work at the same level, at the same frequency that we are doing in the classroom. But our attempt at that is we have 2 events planned upcoming in the upcoming months that are particularly for those parents to connect with us online, where our consultants will teach those parents how to use toys in their own home to build language within the home.
Just as a follow-up, because what you have loosely is not research-based, but evidence-based strategy.
Right.
And that's what we're needing across the field right now, and especially in deaf education. So when you have these 40 and you have 8 that have moved forward, you get it. We're hungry for those specific evidence-based, because you have evidence in what you have collected through language samples and other things. So if there's manpower to dig into that and then collect it and do something with it I don't want to say publish, because I don't mean it in that necessarily formal of a word, but you get it.
I will say the other things we are doing to try to move that forward or carry that torch is the consultants are planning trainings for the future with teachers of the deaf or other staff from districts that might be interested to help carry that through as well. Thank you.
This is Jim Cassidy.
Our time is very limited this evening, and so if you don't mind, for the next meeting in May, will you continue with the information that you've shared today? I know we have a great number of questions that we'd like to ask, I myself included, and I realize that we have a long list of potential questions that we could ask you for outreach. And, I would like to have you come back in May so that we can address outreach. We've been working with you for 5 years, talking about all of the aspects of this, so I'm sure that will lead to a longer discussion. So I would like to save this into our May meeting, if possible, so that we'll have some additional time to ask questions. And Scott Hahn, I'd like to add, Tony, you're sharing with us your report, and that will give us time to look through your report and ponder some questions and give us more, information. So I think that will help you and the program to expand, and how we can support through funding, through personnel, whatever, to help your project.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you all.
Thank you, Tony. So moving down our agenda, as chairperson, I know we have a list of, I think we've covered everything that Mr. Petrie has covered his area. So anything that we have left, we will move to the May session. I would like to thank the leadership. I hope you continue. Dorm life looks good. Student leadership is coming back. I was strongly involved with the student council for 5 years when I was a student. In dorm activities, I was raised from first grade to my senior year in the dorms. So 17 years of experience, and it was inspiring to see the leadership for students coming back into play. I applaud you for that. I think we will move the additional remaining items to our May agenda because of our time limitations. And Scott, yes, you go ahead. I move that we, as the advisory board, support the concept of
The non-voting student seat to our advisory board. I like that recommendation that was submitted to us. I think that the advisory board needs to take that under advisement and see what KDE and the legal accommodations that we need to add and have that place for a student. I would be willing to, as a non-voting member of this board. Haley said that she's willing to make the motion. All in favor, say aye. None opposed. So I think it'd be wonderful to have a non-voting student participant. The
Kentucky State Board also has student involvement and has a student representative on their board. So I think it would be awesome for us to have that on our board as well, so that they bring that to their world experiences once they leave school. Anyone else have a comment from the board? Any further discussion? Public comments. Do we have a sign-up sheet for those who had public comments? There was just one, Mr. Petrie. And Mr. White's going to run and get that. Sorry, I just got lost on that at the moment. He was like, oh, he's talking about the student rep. But I was like, I'm lost. Okay. I was watching Jeff and I got lost. What is it? Okay, we have one individual who would like to make public comment. That is Barbie Harris, and her topic is the 5-year sports deaf study and the curriculum. So Barbie, if you'll come forward. Thank you again. I am Barbie Harris. Last year, I believe it was last year, during the spring, I brought to the board a 5-year study regarding sports and how we might expand the program, not only with basketball and volleyball, but cross country, and we're limited to those right now, and I felt we needed to expand the diversity of what we offer as far as a sports program for all the students to be engaged. And I feel like we need to develop a program, a 5-year plan, a study on how we can start developing additional sports programs. There are a number of students who have hidden talents in sports. I myself was heavily involved in the Mini Deaf Olympics, and I've seen these students be engaged, and they said, well, I didn't know I could even do that. I didn't know I could excel in that area. So I think we need to look at that program again. I think that if we expand that, and as we meet the challenges with the different schools, whether they be residential deaf schools for tournaments and the like, in addition to that, I think that a recreation program that starts from kindergarten up is important. Not only as far as being engaged as a team and being part of that team and supporting that team, but additionally having recreation at the local level, having leagues and the like. So I think that's much needed, and we need to develop that type of program for KSD. Second of all, with deaf studies, we need to have a curriculum. Back in the day, gosh, what year was it? 1995, perhaps, if I remember correctly. We had an awesome curriculum where we had one deaf individual, one deaf teacher in every department from elementary to middle school to high school. And we would have teams, firstly, and they would develop deaf studies of curriculum. And looking at the deaf studies curriculum, we wanted to emphasize meeting the student needs for their particular life skills, you know, so we could enhance their self-esteem and identity and culture. And learning about deaf history, deaf education, folklore, the arts, the list is endless. So I think that we need to develop that curriculum, start with a one-year plan, and then merge that into a full curriculum so that, you know, by the 6th or 7th year, the state can, you know, at some point in time, the state decided to remove that from our curriculum, but they didn't feel that it was beneficial for the students and didn't add that back to the course requirements. I feel that this is a need that needs to be revisited. I do appreciate, and I don't know where she went.
Samantha Fowler.
Samantha Fowler, yeah, Samantha. You know, she's a good one. She's very responsible, and I think those responsibilities, not only for students, but also for being able to share that curriculum with students, with parents. I think parents are a key to have parent involvement, teachers, staff, you know, the dorm life, and including that on their schedule so that we can come up with not only the ASL component, but the cultural components as well. We do have a curriculum book. It's about yay thick back in the day. I think it's in the Jacobs Hall Museum. So I would like to see some type of 5-year study and a plan to be developed that we bring that back into the curriculum for KSD. Okay, that was my update. Thank you. Next on our agenda is the advisory board meeting. We're looking at the dates. Everyone available for May the 9th? May 9th doesn't work. How about May 14th? So I'll be busy until July, so whatever works best for the board. Does May 9th work for everyone? May 9th? Scott's still looking. Give me a moment. Yes, May 9th works for me. That's on a Thursday, is that correct? Yes, it's on a Thursday evening, May 9th. Yes, Thursday, May the 9th. Seems it's working for everyone. Does it work on this end of the table? All right, very good. So May 9th at 6 p.m. We are going to adjourn the meeting. So do I have a motion to adjourn? Scott Hunt says I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting. The motion has been made. Do I have a second? Aaron Roden seconds. All in favor? Say aye. The meeting is adjourned at 8:18. Oh.